So God gave me something in terms of grace and time, and I'm gonna move this light. Want to make sure you can see me, but so you can see my eyes and face, I will move it. So God gave me this message about grace and time. I was overhearing the news, and there's so much going on that pulls our attention in our time. And I had to remind myself, like, don't get caught up in the news cycle. Like, it's crazy. They're canceling shows. Like, the world just seems topsy-turvy, and things are flipped on its head, where righteousness and truthfulness and the things that are good and noble just seems to be getting flipped on its head. So and the truth tellers are getting canceled out. So I thought, well, since people are getting canceled for telling the truth, I might as well go out with a Jesus Christ truth bang, right? If I'm gonna get canceled or anything, it might as well be spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. So what God gave me to share with you is called a grace period. And yesterday I had a doctor's appointment and I missed my grace period. They give you like a 15-minute grace period. And I knew when the night before that I had an early appointment. I was like, why did I do this? I hate waking up early. I know I'm gonna be late for this appointment. I slept in my bed later than I should have, really into my grace period. I was like, I should have gotten up 15 minutes earlier, but instead I decided to hug my pillow in my bed a little more. Well, that caused me to miss my doctor's appointment grace period. So I'm literally like frantic, panicking. I'm calling. Nobody's picking up the phone. None of the nurses are picking up the phone. I can't get a receptionist. Like, nothing's happening. And I fear I'm going to miss my appointment and miss my moment. And it was with a specialist. So I wouldn't have been able to see that specialist again until like December or something crazy. Like, I had already waited 3-4 months. Ooh, I'm starting to get emotional to see this specialist. And what's rising up for me right now is the woman with the issue of blood, and how she was like, I have to touch the hem of his garment in order to be healed. Like, there's no way I can miss when Jesus comes. And that makes me think about the grace period. How are we stewarding our grace period? We hear about how God's grace and mercy brings us through. That's a song, an old song that they used to sing in old black churches, if you're familiar with that. And I was curious, like, what is the definition of grace? And what is the definition of mercy? Like, what do those words mean? We hear them in church and in Christianity, but what's the definition? What does it mean? Grace, really quickly, is an extended amount of time that you're given to do something, like a grace period at a doctor's appointment or something similar to that. And mercy is forgiveness by someone who is able to offer it to you. And that's what God does for us. He gives us mercy. We know that the wages of sin is death. In the Garden of Eden, we sinned as mankind, and the payment for that is death, but Jesus paid it all. And so he's able to extend mercy to us to be able to live life on this planet and not die, because he has already taken and defeated death. Grace is an opportunity, and God gave me this revelation several months ago, is an opportunity to do it again. And that's what a grace period is. It's an extended opportunity that you miss your appointment at, let's say, 9 o'clock. You got until 9:01 to do it again, 9:02 to do it again, 9:03 to do it again, to make the appointment, all the way up until that 15 minutes, 15 times to be able to make that appointment. And God gives us a longer grace period than that. Some shorter, some longer. But if you're watching this, you have that number in your grace period, and so on and so forth, until God calls us home. So the question is, we don't know when God calls us home. So what are we doing in the time of our grace period? What were we doing before then? And are we running up against the line to the appointment when Jesus comes? Or are we standing, waiting by? Are we early? Are we saying, I can't miss the specialist? I can't miss this opportunity with my Savior. I can't miss the day or the hour that Jesus comes. And I have been stewarding my grace period that He, the giver of life, has given me well. Our grace period, for plain terms, are the number of days, hours, minutes, seconds that we're on this earth. That is the grace period that God gives to us. And the question is, what are we doing with that? So just a few thoughts before I close. God gives us a grace period, which is extended time to get it right. Am I lollygagging in my grace period? Am I procrastinating? These are some questions to think about. What am I doing in the time of my grace period? Sometimes we might not realize we have a grace period. You know, a lot of us can be like, I didn't even know I had a grace period. I thought I just missed my appointment, so we don't even try. And that can equate to, I'm in my wrong, I'm doing wrong, this is how I am, period. Another question is, what did I do that caused me to need a grace period? We talked about the wages of sin is death. Sin in the garden, that is our ancestry. We are humans. That is what happened, the fall of man, which is why we need a grace period to begin with. And then I also want to make a pinning point there, because my question has always been like, God, why would you do this? And this is a sovereign Lord. You know, the Bible is called the greatest love story of all time. And that's really what it boils down to, is God is able to show His love to us through this story of creation that He has made for us. That even when we get it wrong, which is the greatest symbol of love, He still loves us. He doesn't abandon us. He gives us opportunity after opportunity, a grace period to do it again. A few more questions. Am I using my grace period responsibly? Grace is our dash on earth to get it right until God calls us home. How are you spending your time during your grace period? What has God called you to do during your grace period? And are you doing that? This is something I often ask myself. This video right here is a part of that. Doing what God has called me to do during my grace period. Am I griping or complaining during my grace period? That's a real thing. And we talked about racing up against the line. Oftentimes, I procrastinate. So I'm either like right up against my 15-minute mark, or yesterday I was really over. I try not to be over on my grace period. I actually try and be on time. I've actually been beating my grace period here lately by not sleeping in and hugging the pillow for an extra 15 minutes, getting up in the time I know I need to. So, you know, what are we doing, you know, in the grace period, and are we taking our grace period for granted? These are just some of the thoughts that are coming to mind as I'm thinking about our grace period, the race that God has given us, and what we're doing with it. So evaluate your grace period. Think about what are the things that God has called you to do in time, in this time that He has allotted to us through His grace, which is literally every morning. It says His mercies are new every morning, and His grace is sufficient. That means that He gives us enough time in our time to do exactly what God needed us to do. And I even think about babies, because sometimes like they pass away, and the people who love them, they touch their hearts in some way, and we don't even know. And as heartbreaking as it is to lose a baby or a child, they even had purpose in their grace period. So no matter if you live to be very, very young or very, very old, it's important what we do with our grace period, what we do in time, and that we steward it well and use our grace period responsibly. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Use it well. So I hope that this blesses you. This was definitely very impromptu, but it is just a message and a reminder to use and to steward your grace period well. See you next time.